Hello, hello, hello. You're listening to Midnight Movie Gang. Right now it's 2:19 p.m. Night Movie Gang.
Hi.
Hi, I'm here. I'm Elsie Hines, and for those of you just tuning in, if this is your first episode, this is a show where we talk about cult cinema, kind of like genre film, horror, sci-fi. Every once in a while, we'll talk about something mainstream. Certainly not today. I'm your host, Elsie. I'm here with my boy, Joseph.
Hi.
And we have a special guest today, Harvey Thomas Boyd. Introduce yourself.
Howdy from Texas.
From
Howdy.
Texas. It's hot down there in Texas right now, I bet.
It's weirdly nice today, but we've definitely got our 105-degree days coming soon.
Damn.
It's horror within itself.
Couldn't be
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty hot today here, but it's not like super, super hot. Today, thank you so much for coming on, by the way. So today we're going to be talking about End of Violent Nature, but first we're also here, Harvey, to talk about your book. You wanted to come on to talk about your book. So tell us about, so you're an author. This is your second book, right? Tell us about it.
So the real quick elevator pitch for it is that I've been writing books for years, and I'd finish them and say, man, that was a great time, and then not release them. And so I ended up with this backlog, and my wife and family have really suggested that it's worthy of releasing. So I'm kind of going through the process of self-publishing my backlog of books as I work on some new stuff.
That's super cool.
So back to back, I've got two books coming out. One came out April 1st. It's called Ludagy, a horror story.
Oh, sick.
And then I've got a True to Texas UFO book coming out, I think, on July 14th.
Ooh, what's
called
I was about to ask what that one's called, because that sounds like my kind of book.
Paulo Duro. It's supposed to kind of be The Shining meets Slaughterhouse 5 in Texas, which
Cool.
I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah,
Yep.
that sounds like a good mashup.
You're speaking my love language right there with that. No, that's
It had its first test reader, and the first test reader said that they really enjoyed it. So
That's great.
I hope I'm not full of shit.
I don't think so. You sound like you're a great writer. I'm excited. That one I'll definitely check out.
I can hear in your voice you're a great writer.
Yeah, exactly. You got writer voice.
That's why the book reviews keep being 1 star, but the audio books are all 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the movie we're going to talk about today. So Harvey, in particular, he suggested this movie. This is a movie I had heard about and wanted to see, but once I saw that you wanted to talk about it, I was like, oh hell yeah, that's a great reason to go see it. And yeah, the movie we're talking about today is End of Violent Nature, directed by Chris Nash. A 2024 Canadian slasher film written and directed by Chris Nash. It recently, I think yesterday was like the last day of its short theatrical run.
Yeah.
And it's going to
No
be
one saw it.
Yeah. And it's going to be on Shudder. We don't have an exact release date, but like a lot of people are thinking the end of June, because like the last movie that had this kind of structure, Late Night with the Devil, it was a similar thing. Like it came on like about 3 to 4 weeks after. It was on Shudder 3 to 4 weeks after its limited theatrical run.
Yeah.
I'm curious why in particular had you just seen it? Was it a movie you were looking forward to?
Yeah, it was a movie I really wanted to see when I saw the trailer for it. I love the horror genre being deconstructed. And so one of the positive things I'll say about this movie is you could put it onto a DVD 3-pack with Cabin in the Woods and Scream. And as fun as the slasher genre is, kind of unpacking the slasher genre is a little bit more fun.
Yeah, the meta slasher universe.
Yeah.
Definitely. I can see it definitely falling into those realms. It definitely
This movie expects you to have seen a lot of these movies already.
Yeah, it's true. You couldn't go into this movie not have at least knowing anything about them. Yeah, for sure. Or else.
Yeah, if you could time travel this movie, if you showed Friday the 13th to like a pilgrim in 1817, they would probably understand it. They would not understand this movie because it depends on pre-existing language of cinema.
And then they'd probably just stack a bunch of rocks on you until you died.
Oh yeah.
And be like, what is this magical device with images you show us? You're showing us pictures of hell.
Yeah.
That's very true. This movie very much exists only in context of other horror movies. That's a good point. So that's cool. I was excited when you said you wanted to watch it.
I had seen it I had seen it on like the theater app, and I was just like looking for like movies to see. I was like, that looks good. I'll watch that. I know nothing about it, and I told LC about it. I never saw a trailer. I told LC about it, and he was like, "That's the movie the guy wants to watch."
Yeah. But no, me and Joseph saw it on a matinee this last week at 9:45 in the morning.
Yeah, this is not a morning movie.
Well, I mean, we went because the tickets were cheap, and
Morning
I think
with a U.
I think one of us had work in the evening that day, so it was the best time. But I mean, it was great because we had the entire theater to ourselves.
Yeah.
The tickets were super cheap.
Yeah, we had our own little private screening.
Yeah. So we got to like talk throughout the whole thing.
See movies in the morning. It's a pretty interesting experience.
Yeah.
Well, being able to talk through it is probably a big help too, because there's a lot of a downtime where you're just kind of hanging out with
true.
the movie.
There is a lot of downtime.
That is a good point. Yeah, we definitely had a lot of moments where we were commenting on what was going on, and yeah, no, that's true. If we saw it with any kind of crowd, it might have been a worse experience. But
Yeah.
we can get into that.
So I actually had an interesting theater going experience for this too. Are you guys familiar with the Alamo Drafthouse chain?
Yeah, they just got bought by Sony.
Yeah, I saw the very last screening at that Alamo, and so I saw this movie, and the very next morning Alamo closed down forever. So,
Oh no.
and I really liked Alamo. They were like the only respectable theater chain. So, In a Violent Nature was the
strangely appropriate.
right.
Yeah, movie to end on. That's
Yeah.
true. Wait, so it's shutting down for? I thought that it was just going through some reforming. Is Sony shutting them all down?
Well, so there was a bankruptcy for a big Texas chapter of Alamo Drafthouse, and that was kind of the death knell for the company. And so now Sony's come in, and I'm not going to say anything mean about Sony. They might want to buy my books, but I don't believe that Alamo Drafthouse is going to return in the same form it was if it's owned by Sony.
No.
Gotcha. Yeah, it'll be its own thing.
That's the nicest way to put that.
Yeah,
They're very lawyery.
yeah, that's very true.
Extremely lawyery company. It's lawyer vibes coming from over there.
100%. Yeah, no, I got some pros and cons I could say about Sony as a company, but like I said, you don't want to get into that too much.
Let's not tarnish our relationship with our favorite company, Sony.
Well, the only streaming service I want to have a relationship with is Tubi. If we get sponsored by Tubi, that'd be fucking sick.
What about Bigelow Tea?
That'd be fun.
The list of brands grows every day.
Ahmad Teas. Yeah. Which, by the way, usually you've heard some of the pod. Usually we talk about what tea we're drinking. Today we're just drinking water.
Drinking the cheapest tea of all, water.
Again, by like 1800 standards, I am technically drinking tea. I have a Gatorade Zero lime cucumber.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Slightly watered down.
I
So
think a person would need to rest for like a week in the 1600s after drinking one of those.
Yeah, they would just be on edge the whole time.
Yeah.
Just like hyped up on all the but no, like we started this podcast in the winter, so like drinking tea like on cold winter nights.
Yep.
Recording was like a vibe, but now that it's summer, it's like, oh, we need to.
I was like, what cool drink are we drinking?
Yeah.
you guys need to learn the southerner way of iced tea. That's
Yeah.
what we've done for years.
Good
That's
old iced
true.
tea.
Well, I can't really make iced tea just like immediately before as fast as hot tea.
Just make some sun tea like the day before.
Yeah, maybe. We just really need to get like a big case of Arizona that's just podcast Arizona.
It's got a big sign on the side that says "Do not touch unless you're wearing headphones."
Exactly. But yeah, no. So to the movie. So yeah, in a Violent Nature. Yeah, starring. So Joseph, you're talking about
Starring Johnny.
But yeah, no. So as far as like, yeah, Joseph, you said you didn't know anything about it, didn't even see a trailer. I had seen the trailer, and I did like read some reviews, but I guess I didn't know. I mean, I guess I knew the concept as far as like I knew that it was going to be like oh, it's a slasher movie from the perspective of the killer.
Yeah.
Like that's really all. And I guess I didn't have an idea of how much they stuck to that.
Oh
bit.
yeah. Honestly, it's a standard ass slasher movie. And the only change is the way it's shot and the way it's presented.
Yeah.
Everything else is pretty much exactly the same as what you'd expect.
All the dialogue, like all the structure, with like what the characters are doing.
Yeah.
Like which characters die, like all that. Yeah.
Well, because you see so little of it, it has to be so powerfully cliche that
Yes.
even if the audio is kind of muted, you know the conversation that's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Because like we see what little snippets, because a lot of the time, when you think about it, Jason's spending his time walking through the woods trying to get to the next place, or like hiding. So like, the few scenes that we get with the actual protagonist characters, they need to be like completely on the nose, like you said.
We need to understand exactly what's going on with it.
Yeah.
No, it's funny enough. We were at Walmart earlier today, and I got the Friday the 13th movie box set because this movie makes me want to go back and watch him.
Yeah, Friday the 13th is probably the closest analog to an existing franchise this movie has.
100%.
I think that they could sue if they wanted to. I wouldn't be in support of it, but whoever owns the rights to Jason could probably sue if they really wanted to.
It feels to me like they were like, let's do our best to try to make a Friday the 13th movie, and if we can't get the rights, we're just going to do it anyway and just call him Johnny instead of Jason. Fuck you.
I've written the script for a Friday the 13th movie, and if they won't approve us, I'm just going to change the hockey mask out for a fireman mask.
Yeah. It's literally, honestly, just a few minor changes, and this is just a Friday the 13th movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, you guys want to start breaking into the plot of this boy?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. My brain is not functioning today.
Drinking that Gatorade, man.
Yeah, too much Gatorade today. So this movie opens with so you don't see the characters' faces, but you hear like a bunch of dumb teens talking about they're at in the remains of a destroyed fire tower.
Yeah, it's a very tight shot on. I think it's just the locket hanging from a pipe.
Yeah, the locket, the necklace, the pipe. Sitting there, and you hear the dumb teens talking about like, we should take it, we shouldn't take it, and one of them just like hangs back for a while and grabs it, which of course would be like probably like the main dumb, like I could see that scene in the real movie of this, you know?
Yeah, the real movie of this.
You know what I mean? It's like, as far as like, I feel like there are so many. All of like the key moments in this movie are very much like something that I really enjoyed was like in my head. I've got like what the Friday the 13th like quote unquote real movie of
the
this.
way it's shot and the music and everything.
Yeah, you can hear the score in your head. That was one of my favorite parts of like the oppressive silence of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially just so that introduction is, you should be hearing syrupy violins and all of this stuff, but nothing.
And honestly, that's my thing. I think because that helps recontextualize a lot of these scenes that we've seen before and the kills and everything. There's just like no score. And everything's shot very flat and like stationary camera from like far away. And I'd say it doesn't really make it scary. It doesn't even really make it more tense, but it does make it way more interesting to me, at least, because we haven't seen it that way.
Yeah.
Well, and going back to that opening scene, one of the things I really appreciated about that is it tells you what the whole movie is going to be in those first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to participate in this experiment, you will know pretty immediately.
Yeah.
And one of the things I really did enjoy is these kids are just talking kind of off screen, having a dumb teen discussion, and they steal a locket, which is what wakes him up. That's the plot device.
Yeah.
And instead of hearing, this big organ and these Technicolor effects, because I think that happens in
lightning
one of the Friday
strikes.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Is you expect this big explosion of the slasher out of the ground, but instead you just kind of hear dirt, and then you just
see
kind of
this guy kind of
wake
dig
up.
himself up. Yeah.
Yep.
This giant buff man.
In real time.
I didn't. Yeah, it took me a second to realize that this guy was like anything paranormal at all. I thought he was just like
He was hiding under the ground or something.
a giant crazy man who was like breathing through a tube, waiting for these guys to leave so he could get up.
Yeah, no. But when you
I don't watch a lot of slashers, so.
But when you like see him fully, you see how his like skin is all rotted and like his clothes are tattered and like very clearly he is like an undead guy.
Well, it looks like he's got like still fresh cuts and burns. Like the way the makeup looks, which is one of this movie's like strong suits, is the makeup and effects. But like a lot of the burns is something I haven't really seen before. That they have that kind of like glossy, like super exposed, like wet, kind of not yet healed skin look to it. That just made me squeamish. I haven't seen that before in a movie. But also, I don't watch a lot of slashers, which.
Yeah. I feel like something that we were talking about when we watched this movie is like overall it's very much like what would it look like in real life if this happened.
Yeah.
You know, as far as like obviously the characters are still behaving how they are on these like dumb movies and whatnot, but if you it's literally showing you like as if this happened like in the real world, what would it look like?
Security cam footage.
Yeah, exactly. Like that kind of like documentary. This movie I feel like if this movie had come out like in the early 2010s, it'd be like a found footage. Found footage.
Yeah.
I don't know, like Jason put a GoPro
he
on.
Found a camera and he's carrying it for no reason.
Or they put a GoPro on Jason. Then it's like hardcore Henry horror.
Put John Krasinski in there to mug the camera. There's a dumb line.
Oh, Get a load of this guy.
Exactly.
No, I have a controversial opinion, but
Yeah.
I thought that Johnny, when he's not wearing his mask, I think he looked a little bit like Jason Voorhees.
Crazy, dude.
Just a little bit.
You know, now that you mention it.
Part of me wishes they never showed us his face, and like we only see it in one scene. You remember me in the theater. At first I was like, no, I don't want to see it. Then I was like, oh, well. But
I was like, well, this is like one of the few things that's like setting him apart from a regular slasher villain.
One, I think that the design of his face, I mean, we'll get to that scene, but like, I think the design of his face looks good. Like, it looks properly creepy and stuff. But in that little moment, like you said,
he looks like a little dumb kid.
He looks like a little kid.
Car.
He's playing with the car. And I before, in the scene where he's waking up, like, and I remember my favorite quote from us watching this movie was like I was like, why do all these guys come back like so big and so buff? Like when they die as like little scrawny kids, and
they come back as giant adults.
And Joseph was just like, well, hell makes you strong.
Yeah,
you got to be strong to survive in hell.
Yeah,
but if I had to identify some of my favorite things about this movie, because I will have a lot of negative stuff to say, but my favorite thing is that this is a sequel. And one of those things that just scratches an itch for me.
I love that.
Yeah, I love seeing a movie that's a sequel to a movie that doesn't exist. That excites me in a way I can't explain.
Yeah, this is like Johnny Part like 5.
He's been
years
killed.
Ago. Yeah,
and I won't spoil it now, but that is my favorite part of the whole movie is when you kind of get to those sequel discussions.
I get
this
that.
This is Friday the 13th, Part 6. Jason Lives. I'm reading off the box set right now from Walmart.
Hell yeah, Jason Lives, and Johnny died.
I'm opening up the box set. Yeah, no, but like, yeah, no, that's true. Like, and I feel like I don't know. Before the scene where he where the sheriff like has him and he's talking about how he fought him before, did they talk at all about? Did they give any other hints that this movie was a sequel before that point, aside from just like Johnny's general design?
I guess in that opening sequence with the cop, and he's like, something's gonna come out of those woods, and you're not gonna be ready for it, or something like that.
I think that, and I could be mistaken, but when the kids are around the campfire talking about his origin story, I think they mention like, and then not so recently, 10 years ago, this happened. Mm-hmm. I could be mistaken though.
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
You could almost see in the trailer that shot of the kids around the fire, like, it happened 10 years ago. They show a clip of the first movie. It happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It would
creepy strings in the background.
It would be that kind of setup. But yeah, no. So when Johnny wakes up, the first thing he encounters after walking with him for a while is he finds the rotting corpse of a dead fox, along with a bunch of bear traps and like tag lines in the wood. And Johnny's and there's a camera.
There's a trail cam.
Yeah, looking at it, and Johnny's pretty upset about it.
Maybe, yeah. At that point, I figure he's just like, I'm just looking for my locket.
You mentioned the trail cam. I think that I understand why they said it in modern times, absolutely. But for
that
an extra,
was the moment that we could tell it was not the 70s.
Yeah, for an extra $100, they could have bought some bell-bottom jeans and made this the 70s. I understand why they'd want to do that because it's so overdone.
It felt like they half committed to that though, in a few ways. Like a lot of the wardrobe felt almost 70s in the way the movie looked, the way like the lens filters and everything.
Yeah,
like the 4:3 for me made it feel like I was watching something on like an old CRT.
Yeah,
like a tape of a Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah,
or
like
something.
this is a bootleg that you got from somebody. That you like watch it. Like that's the vibe, totally.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? But yeah, no. As far as like the deck, I pretty much just chalk that up to like they just didn't have the budget. But
yeah,
I can't find any information on the budget of this movie online. Like Wiki doesn't say it. I was trying to look it up and I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much more that would have added to the budget, because like it would still just be shooting in the woods the whole time, wouldn't it? And all the cars, I guess you could just, I don't know. Is it that much more expensive to rent a car from the 70s?
Somewhere out there's a person who actually knows like movie budgets, and they're pulling their hair out listening to us say it's so cheap.
It's probably really easy to make a movie.
Yeah, I could just do it in my backyard, guys. Shot on iPhone.
You just get a camera, right? And like you don't even need that because everyone's got a phone. Just you know.
I know that just looking at the oh no way was that cheap. So there's a movie that we talked about around the beginning of the podcast. Me and Courtney had an episode on called The Void. The Void.
I've seen The Void.
Yeah, and I think
I've seen you then.
It's not saying here, but I think I read somewhere that Chris Nash was like one of the VFX guys on The Void. And like the main thing that's like kind of like known about that movie is that it's kind of in my opinion, like we're not going to like it was a pretty mediocre like Sci-Fi Channel type movie, but then out of nowhere the effects and like makeup are just incredible.
Yeah.
Like, and the creature design is just like insanely good out of nowhere.
There's a scene from The Void that's stuck with me to this day, and it's where that corpse is hitting his head over and over again on the spike. That is, for the budget of this movie, that is insane. Oh, it was a great time.
And just looking at the, I mean, according to Wikipedia, this says, let's say less than $82,000, more than like it for a budget. Like according to Wikipedia, that movie had a super like less than $100,000 of budget. Whereas, so if it's a similar production team, like as far as like maybe around the same, like a sub $1 million, which if it's below $1 million, then this is hella impressive.
Yeah.
But we just don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't put money on it being under $1 million.
Yeah.
Especially with like a lot of these effects, and there are quite a few actors in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
We might never know.
Maybe. Although, like most of the actors probably got their filming done in like a day. With the exception of Johnny. Like Johnny was the one who was on most of the time. But anyways, yeah, he finds this fox. He follows the trail markers back to this house where there's a cop and a hunter man arguing. You know, he's like, I can put my traps wherever I want. You know, this is America type deal. And
Johnny does not stop. He just kind of keeps walking the whole time. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, no, he literally just does. Like he's walking around the.
He's not gonna like stop and listen to this conversation.
The perimeter. And no, I just love. Yes, a lot of this movie is just walking, but I feel like there is like an extra layer of like, I don't know. It literally just makes me think about all the other horror movies, thinking about these like small character moments.
Yeah.
Just the idea of like, oh, Michael Myers is like the next block over type of deal, you know? And it's like it really does make me just think about all the other horror movies and like, oh dear, sorry, there's sex scene happening in the game, the Friday the 13th game.
Distracted his brain.
Well, you know, did you guys? I don't know if you guys watch any like video game content on YouTube, but there's a series called Boundary Break that I remember got really popular.
I love Boundary Break.
And that's what I remember thinking about during that first scene.
Yeah, I can feel. Because it's kind of like watching a cutscene from a different angle.
Yeah, it's like someone broke the code of a movie and just took the camera somewhere it's not supposed to go.
Absolutely.
So there's kind of that uncanny valley feeling.
Yeah, it's a really good connection to draw.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. I watched one for The Last of Us Part 1 where like in the opening they move the camera like, let's go inside the burning building, and it looks crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it is what it feels, because it's like there's a movie scene happening over there, but we're over here. And that's a lot of this movie. I bar a few points where they didn't fully commit.
It always feels like you're never meant to be seeing what you're seeing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like that's really the kind of the bread and butter of this movie. But yeah, no. So the cop and the man arguing. Johnny goes in and fucking kills this dude. We get like a nice kind of wide angle shot of
man. How did he do it? Oh yeah, it's off camera, right?
It's like in the house. Like it doesn't exactly cut away, but it's not as visceral as some kills we get later.
It's a pretty unnerving thing, because like as much as this guy sucks, Johnny's just kind of like walking after him, and he's like terrified. He doesn't like know where to go or who to like. There's no one around. And he's just running into the woods, and I think he does get caught in like one of his own traps, right?
Yes, that's exactly
which is pretty perfect.
That's one of the things that's really consistent with the movie too that I like is that it was written by like a Hollywood writer. So all of these things, even though Johnny himself feels very like organic and real world, the movie that occurs around him is very movie-ish with things being reincorporated.
Yeah, it does. It feels like someone got a script to a regular slasher movie and then a completely different like production team got it and just made that however they wanted.
You can predict everything that's going to happen with the plot pretty much.
Yeah.
With the exception of, I think the exception of the ending, but we'll get into that. As far as, another thing I wanted to point out about this sequence is that before Johnny kills the guy, he finds, he doesn't find the locket, but he finds a necklace that reminds him of the locket, and he sees a little vision of his father in the mirror.
With a really corny effect.
With a really cheesy, like, purple glow.
Yeah,
like,
doesn't really match the feel the rest of the movie's going for, I don't think.
Disney Channel original movie
ads. Yeah, it does. You're watching Disney Channel.
Yeah, which honestly, that is my least... I love this movie, although I respect all the negative, I understand all the negative texts I've seen of it, but that for me is literally just like the weakest moment because like.
See, I'm kind of like, I kind of enjoyed how corny and cheesy it looked. I don't know why. For some reason, it just spoke to me.
I feel like it was too halfway. I felt like it either needed to feel more like a scene from a movie, like with like a worse effect, or cut it. And it was kind of trying to do both and failed.
I agree. Regard. Yeah, it's like trying to do this like midway thing.
Okay, so here's how I exactly would have done this as far as like, I didn't like it because the rest of the movie in its execution felt so grounded. Like this one moment felt like, oh, this is like legit just a moment from a cheesy horror movie. Like this is like literally, I think this scene happened in Friday the 13th too. Like he saw a vision of his mom or in the water or something. How I would have done it just straight up. Joseph, you haven't seen True Romance, right?
Nope.
Or Harvey, have you seen True Romance?
I absolutely have.
Yeah, you know the scene where like Christian Slater, like Elvis, he's like looking in the mirror and then like Elvis is talking to him like behind him and his like face is covered and Elvis is like, you got to be number one, man. And he's like literally standing by. That's how I just would have done it. I would have had like Johnny, like maybe Johnny looking in the mirror, you see like a reflection and you see like his father behind him being like, Johnny, you got to do this thing, you got to do, and not have like a crazy color effect, just kind of have it be more straight up like that.
Yeah.
You know? Like a more.
See, for me, I think just seeing him go for the thing that wasn't the locket, thinking it was the locket and getting upset, I think that's all I needed to like really understand his motivation. Like, oh, he's just going after the locket.
Okay. What was so strange about him going for the locket too is the movie is going out of its way to explain something to you, and that's one of the only times it does that.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of other times in the movie, one of the scenes we're about to get to is when the teens are taking a photo and he's accidentally in the background of it.
Yeah.
Which is a big horror movie cliche, but the movie doesn't spoon feed it to us.
Yeah. That might have been like a reshoot or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It felt very like, oh man, people are so confused as to like what he's looking for.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that campfire scene, that is the next scene in the movie. After Johnny kills this guy, he hears a car and follows it. And then he finds a group of these annoying teens talking. And so just in general, like I kind of want to talk about some of the acting with I was about to say human characters, like with
yeah. I think that's accurate.
With the human characters in this movie and like the actual performers and actors. I've heard a lot of back and forth online about the take with their acting, like
the ultra not greatness.
The ultra not greatness of it. Basically, people arguing whether or not like is this purposeful? Like is this like are they specifically acting this way to try to ape that like.
A good rule of thumb with film analysis is to assume that everything's purposeful.
Okay, so we can assume it's purposeful that they're.
I think it services the tone.
Yeah, like I think it works fine.
Yeah,
and I do think that like we get some human. I'm gonna keep calling it human performances later. That are so like the final girl. Like I think that like the little bit that we get of her, I think she's pretty good.
Yeah, she's alright.
But in this campfire scene, especially, like I was very much cringing, like, oh, like this acting is so bad, but is it supposed to be bad? What did you guys think about the acting in this? I felt conflicted about it, but I want to hear y'all's thoughts.
Yeah.
So
yeah, go ahead.
You want to go ahead? Oh man, we're in sync. My response to it is that it just was so subdued, and that's what made it disappointing to me. Is whether they were good actors or bad actors. They were kind of talking at the same register we are right now. It was very casual. And that is one of the places where I really disliked this movie. Is if this was a slasher movie that you picked up in a bargain bin, that would not be an entertaining scene.
Yeah.
I would have.
There's
put
no
them,
drama. There's no melodrama.
Even if it would have been like a little bit, quote unquote cringe, like putting them in big 1980s outfits with big 1980s hair and having them really overact, I think that would have been more fun, and I think it would have fit the vibe better.
Yeah.
But instead, we just kind of get some people dressed like they're going to a bar,
Yeah.
and they're talking like this, and that's also one of the worst
just some
recorded
millennials.
Scenes. Too.
Yeah, it felt a bit dull to me too. The part that sticks out to me is a little later. Two of them are like kind of making fun of this other third guy, and they're saying, "I'm not going to give the full context. You're just going to have to deal with it." They're yelling, "Fill me up, Johnny," or whatever his name is. They're yelling, "Fill me up, and it's just like it's not funny. So like no one in real life would be repeating this joke so much as these people are. It just felt like kind of awkward, and the way they were performing it felt like two actors. It's just like I said, I think I agree with you. I think it was just a little too dull, and like they were a little too casual and like just people talking. There wasn't like if you want this to be a melodramatic slasher movie that we just see a different perspective on, fully commit and have them
they should
act melodramatically.
Yeah, so I get what you're saying. Like if the acting should have been either, I don't want to use the term better, but more naturalistic, or they just go harder into the concept. Like,
yes.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
It's coming back to what I was saying earlier about the locket. Of my frustration with this movie is not deciding to be A or B, because it could have been more realistic or it could have been more bombastic, and instead it kind of tried for both.
It's that's what I think I said something similar after we watched it. Where
it is in this movie pretty much is in the exact middle of that Venn diagram.
Yeah, it's like people who really like slashers and people who really like
elevated
like sort
horror.
of like prestige horror.
Yeah.
I don't think neither crowd is going to really love it, but like both of them are going to kind of like it.
Yeah.
Because that's where like we get into the gore, and I won't spoil it because we're going to get into it soon. But the gore is really over the top and silly.
Yeah.
So it just, if you were going to do like the subdued serious thing, if I was making the movie, I would have made like the deaths a lot more sad and realistic. And disturbing.
Yes.
But the silly deaths with the subdued real people just didn't.
It's like, what tone are you looking for?
It's Mortal Kombat fatalities for sure.
Yeah.
As somebody
kind of all over the place.
Speaking into that whole Venn diagram thing is like, I think something that I personally, I was really able to dig it because I love both realms equally. Like I love, and it's honestly the same line. Like my horror either needs to be super cheesy and fun, or it needs to be like super serious and like well crafted and like have a lot of artistic integrity. And I feel like I enjoyed that this movie, for me at least, it succeeded in blending both. But I definitely understand like how a lot of people are either one way or the other, and like how it does leave you wanting more on each side.
It's a fine line, and I think the movie has trouble walking it. Yeah,
there definitely were little moments where, for me personally, it could have like pushed one way or the other. But I think for this, like, I'm excited to see like what comes next for this filmmaker and to see if this inspires similar types of movies. And actually, speaking of which, I want to talk about this now.
That would make this movie a lot less interesting if there were more coming out like it.
I want to talk about this now before I forget this. This movie made me want to get Harvey, did you see Scream 6?
I think I did, and that might be the only. I've only seen 2 Screams. I think it's 1 and 6 for some reason.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Ironically, those are my two favorite. 1 and
I guess you can just stop then.
Yep, and then that's it. Well, I mean, there are other good ones, but anyway, Scream 6 for people at home. Spoilers for Scream 6. And Joseph, I've talked to you about this. Scream 6 opens with kind of like a fake out killing, where like every Scream movie opens with Ghostface like calling someone on the phone and then killing them eventually, and then it cuts to the title. Scream 6 opens with a fake out where after Ghostface kills the person, the movie's still going, like it doesn't cut away, and then Ghostface takes off his mask,
and you know who it is.
And you know who it is. It's Flash Thompson from the Spider-Man movies. And you know who he is, and you see him walking around for a bit, and you follow him, and you see that he knows the main characters, and like, oh shit, are we gonna know who Ghostface is the whole time.
No.
But then it turns out that this is just like an extended opening where the quote unquote real Ghostface of the movie like kills this copycat guy.
Yeah.
And we don't actually know. And I was like, oh, okay. Which
another movie that failed to commit.
yeah. But the thing is, like, this in A Violent Nature is like this shows me that you could do that in like you could find an interesting angle on that, because I thought that was really interesting when I saw Scream 6, and I was excited to see what the movie was going to do. It was like, oh, how would a Scream movie work if the audience knew who Ghostface was but the characters didn't? And this is kind of,
we'll never know.
Well, I mean, I think this movie, it feels like the prototype version of that. I was like, okay, we know it's still an interesting movie and there's still things to follow, and there's still like, you know, at the very least, like, we all enjoyed the movie a little. Like, there's something to be gained from telling this story this way, and I feel like if you want to take it to a more specific level of a Scream movie, you could do it.
So I know someone who did a story very much like that, and I think it worked really well. Mm-hmm. Are either of you guys X-Files fans?
Yeah, I haven't rewatched in a while, but I watched a lot of X-Files growing up.
Okay, so when the show started to run out of steam, it did a lot of desperate gimmick stuff, and a lot of it's very bad, like video game episodes and stuff, where they get trapped inside a video game. But one of the final good episodes is they decided to do a Monster of the Week episode from the perspective of the monster. And I think the episode's called Hungry. Okay. And you follow this guy who is like a shark man who works at a fast food restaurant and struggles with like killing and eating people. But it all takes place from this guy's perspective, and we follow him wake up, we follow him put on his human prosthesis so he can look like a regular guy.
That's cool.
And
That's really
Mulder and Scully start sniffing around and like start figuring out the mystery.
You see them come along, and
they're like the antagonists of the episode.
Yeah, you watch Mulder and Scully as they typically would figure out the mystery, but from a distance, from the perspective of the monster. And that is a very good example of this kind of story. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of like that kind of turn. I was just thinking like a whole show that's kind of based around that concept, like, you know, the TV show You.
Yeah.
Which is like he's like a serial killer, but like it's kind of like from a different perspective, it'd be a romantic comedy type deal. Yeah, no, I'm excited to see more kind of like different perspectives on cliches like this. Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Like, I think it's unique. But yeah. Let's move on to the next.
What happens next, LC?
What happens next? Yeah. So after, so the campfire scene. Johnny, they're talking. This one, the nerdy kid tells the story of Johnny, in the background, and then like it's revealed that Johnny is like, was watching them the whole time. Johnny.
Do you want to tell the story of Johnny?
I thought that was one of the best. If I had a basket of things I loved, the origin story of Johnny was really cool.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that scene. Let's dig
into that.
I need a reminder of, because I didn't super remember the story. I was kind of just thinking like, oh, this acting is so bad. But it was.
Well, I can't blame you because the sound quality was pretty awful. But
I needed subtitles
again.
Yeah. I'm excited to watch this with subtitles.
The 2-sentence version of it is that it's this super remote woods town where they just had like a logging industry, and some cruel bullies tricked a young kid. Maybe I don't remember it. I'm looking at some words from it, and now I'm nervous I can't fit it into 2 sentences.
Yeah. No. It's fine. I don't remember the exact story. It was something like he was bullied, and like Johnny's father like worked for a factory or whatever. Like, I need to rewatch that scene with subtitles, because I think one of the reasons I glossed over. Sorry, Joseph went off mic for a second. One of the reasons I glossed over it was because it is kind of like the same as like a Jason or a Michael Myers, where like it was all the kind of like same tropes. Like the kid was fucked up, and then something shitty happened to him, and then a bunch of people murdered him.
Yeah,
like the same as like all those.
Came back and was put down again.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of how this scene was executed personally. Like, I feel like they could have done something. It wasn't my favorite parts of the movie, but that's also like...
Yeah, this is a part of the movie that didn't really commit as strongly to the premise. Because honestly, and it's a really small nitpick, but I think me and Mel C both have it, where we're like, it's the camera is no longer like focusing on or following the killer. It's now rotating,
obnoxiously circling the group.
Yes, the entire scene. It's moving. It's like I understand you don't want to film this like shot reverse shot like a normal slasher, like a normal like horror movie would do, but you're still like it's still not from his perspective. It's still just a movie, like like a dialogue shot. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
it felt like a little misguided.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily how else they would have executed it, but like, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to be with the dumb teens. I want to be with Johnny.
He should have been walking around them in circles.
Yeah, or I guess or here's the thing. I really feel like his story, beyond the fact that he was a little kid, isn't necessarily super important.
Yeah.
Because like automatically, like the moment for me that made me feel most sympathy towards Johnny and gave me the biggest like feel of his backstory is the scene where we see his face and he's playing with the car.
Yeah, he's just a little kid.
Yeah, he's just a little buff kid who hit the gym in hell. You know,
he was on that.
Hell
they only do CrossFit in hell.
Dude,
by the way,
everybody who died from every like abusive bodybuilder man in the 80s who died of like overdose is just
they're
down
at
there
the top of like the hierarchy down there.
Yeah, exactly. They run hell.
They're the ones who are in charge of you when you go down there. So
100%. But yeah, no, Harvey. But you liked the scene. So tell us what you liked about the scene.
I like the origin story. I did not like the scene. So
I got you.
I got that impression.
I thought that it would have been really easy to just do Jason Voorhees' exact story or Freddy Krueger's exact story.
Yeah.
But I think it was unique to the state this takes place in. I like that it kind of went back to I think like the 1920s. And then the only thing I remember is that
hence the mask. Yeah.
This is a super remote town, and eventually someone came back to it, and everyone was dead. So there's this suggested origin story where he came back after being killed as a child, and took out hundreds of people. And I thought that was a cool detail. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd rather watch that movie, honestly.
Fair point. Yeah, that's a way higher budget movie, though.
Indeed. Yeah, they're gonna need more than that. Well, I can't wait to find out the budget of this movie. So after the campfire scene, Johnny kills the nerdy kid, who we establish early on that he's got. So like, there's a scene where like some of the teens are being mean to the nerdy kid, being like, "Are you going to the gas station to show that?"
That's the scene I was talking about.
Oh, the scene that you
fill me up. That's when they were all yelling "fill me up" at him.
Oh, I see. Because at the gas station. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, no, they're making fun of him for going to talk to this girl who works at the gas station. And they're like, "Are you going to show her your cassette player, your Walkman?"
You have a cassette player. We've established it.
Yeah, it's going to be important in a minute.
Remember, he has a cassette player.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So then Johnny kills him in one of the first, pretty much the first like kill we get a good look at. And it's a pretty sick kill. He basically like from his mouth like cuts his head off and like the top of his head like rolls on the ground. And it's pretty. And
his lower body,
it's pretty gnarly.
And that leads to the one piece of music that we have, and
pretty much the only.
It's diegetic.
Oh yeah, I did. I remember they play an entire song just on his headphones wrapped around his decapitated head,
and it slows down. Yeah,
because the batteries are dying in the cassette, so like the tape is just getting slower and slower till it becomes this kind of like synthy drone.
For me, that's like one of the best choices in the movie.
Yeah,
I thought it was just a slowed and reverb playlist.
Oh, you thought it was like he downloaded like a
also cool
like a lo-fi synth sounds to Game 2 or whatever,
and then he converted it to cassette tape.
Yeah, I
would have been to character.
Hipster. Yeah.
I just want to say real quick on cassette tapes in general. I made Courtney a mixtape cassette tape a few years ago for Valentine's Day. I bought like a little like recorder deck thing and like made the tape, and like I had to I made it in Studio One, like I made it in my DAW, and then I just had to sit there and record it. And I'm like, man, making a tape for someone back in the day was like a lot of work. You put in time.
That meant you love them, dude.
Yeah, because I at least had the advantage of like making everything beforehand and just like having to sit there and watch it record, versus like you had to like get the little snippets at the right moment and like read up. Just it was a process.
The past sucks, the future sucks. The moral of the story.
Yeah. But anyway, so we get this cool, it's the sound of the kid's tape slowing down. We get one of the more worse kind of like effect props. Like I noticed in the theater was like, so basically Johnny is dragging this kid's dead body and this kid's head to the ranger station, the ranger office. And we get some looks at this fake head, and it's a really bad looking fake head.
So here's
I thought the body was worse.
The body does look worse. But my theory is because he throws the head, and it kind of rolls and rests perfectly in this like little spotlight. And I don't know how they could have planned that, so I'm gonna assume that was not like you weren't actually supposed to get a view of this head in like such perfect light, but that happened on set, and they were like, that is too perfect, we cannot not use that take.
Oh, like it was an accident?
Yeah.
Damn.
Like it landed like right here, and like you can see its eyes. So that's my theory. I assume you weren't supposed to see it that clearly.
I mean, they could have not used it because it looked bad.
I liked it.
Well, and the body itself looks like it was made of some paper
Trash
mache
bags.
with
Yeah.
clothes. Yeah,
I
it is
agree.
light because you can tell the actor's trying to make it look heavy.
Yeah.
But it's hot, and he's got a big costume on.
Yeah.
And it looks like this dead body weighs like 3 pounds.
Yeah, just kind of like
Just a balloon. Yeah, just kind of shift everywhere. Yeah, so while we're at the ranger station, Johnny gets his signature mask,
his
signature,
iconic mask and hooks,
And hooks.
from the previous movie that was never made.
his Mortal Kombat hooks. Yeah, that that in the theaters of the real movie, people would be like, oh. He dons this mask and look, and it's a pretty cool looking mask. Like
That's one of the things I wanted to make sure we talked about is I don't know if you guys ever sat down and thought about making a slasher movie when you were kids. I know I did. And you think, how would I come up with an original mask? What's a cool killer mask? And I thought they did a good job. There's a basket of things I really liked in this movie.
Yeah.
And that mask is at the top of it. It's really cool and weird.
The character design is definitely fun. Like as far as like they did kind of nail on the head is like the look of like, yeah, this, I totally buy that this would be just some like slasher that I've never heard about. For me as a kid, it was more like Alien. Actually, now I have this script for a short film I wrote called Gray, like just about these two kids getting chased by an alien, like thinking about like the real like all of those kind of movies, like monster movie, whatever. It all just lies on like the design has to be good.
Yeah.
And that's like the real. And it sucks because I'm not like a visual person, so it's like
strange.
so it's like hard for me to not, like, well, me, like I make music and like I, but yeah. Anyway,
No, I love the way the mask looks. It's a really interesting concept. Do you think a mask like that, like a firefighting mask like that, actually existed, or do you think they made it for the movie?
I'm gonna guess that if in a perfect world the filmmaker saw that mask in a book
said, yeah,
and said, I'm gonna make a movie about a slasher after seeing how cool it looked.
We could look it up, but we're not going to.
Yeah. So after this scene with the mask, so we cut to the next day. It's nighttime. We cut to the daytime, and there are these two girls from the teen squad that are flirting by the lake, like they're on the lake dock or whatever. And I think that's one of the most tense scenes in the movie. Yeah, it's one of my favorites too. And we're seeing them from a distance. Johnny is what's it called?
Stalking.
Yeah, stalking them. He's across the lake. He just straight up like walks into the water.
One of the coolest shots in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like just honestly just showing the lake like in the foreground as these two teenagers are having this dumb conversation in the background. And it's like, yeah, there's no music. The camera is very stationary, and it's just I think a solid third to a half of the screen is just the water while they're talking. And to me, like the meat of this movie, like the second act of this movie is very like it's not especially tense, and it's not really that scary. I'm more just interested watching it. But that particular scene is probably like the peak tension in like the meat of the movie for me.
We're at the lake scene. So like, Johnny just like walks straight up into the water at these two girls. And I don't know, I find it funny. Like, so he walks in the water, we cut away closer to the two girls on the dock, and then when we cut back, it's just like a wide view of the water. And I'm like, man, if they had the money, it would be so cool if we had a shot of like underwater of Johnny walking just like on the
I think that would have peaked over into like a little more corny than I would have liked.
I guarantee you that's what's in the script.
Yeah.
I was with a big group of people when we saw this, and everyone agreed that the movie should have followed its own rules, and we should have seen him
The
underwater.
camera should have gone underwater too.
Grab those legs and yank him
Probably
down.
would have doubled the budget.
But it's like one of those things where it's like it's just a shot of above the lake, and we don't see anything. But we, in our mind's eye, know that Johnny is walking under there.
And then one of them walks off, and the other gets pulled under with like a really like helpless yelp.
Yeah, no, and
that's another one you were saying like you could see the regular movie version of a
100%. Like in my head, I'm like I see like exactly how it's cut. Like when she gets pulled under, it'd be like, dun, like honestly, like the first scene, the kill in Jaws, where she like gets pulled under, and it's like dun, dun, and she's being thrown around. And then we get to the pretzel.
The pretzel scene.
The scene that really stuck in my brain, I think.
That everyone has talked about. So it's the second girl who's at the dock. Johnny is like walking up to her. We get like a nice long shot of like she's doing yoga on this cliffside.
Yeah. This is probably no. I was going to say this is the most self-indulgent the movie gets, but we'll get to that scene.
This is the most Mortal Kombat kill in my opinion.
It is the most Mortal Kombat the movie gets.
Yeah.
So before the movie started, I was with a friend who asked if I'd ever seen a Terrifier movie, which I have not.
I was relating it to Terrifier too, yeah.
Yeah, so a friend of mine said, I hope it's like this. I said I'd never seen it, and he showed me a clip from Terrifier.
Yeah.
To the perverts out there who have seen that movie, it's the scene where he scalps the girl and pours bleach on her.
Yeah.
And I think whoever made the Terrifier movies should probably be in prison. That's for one.
Yeah.
And for two, the older I get, the less I enjoy gore. So just this nice young lady doing yoga.
that poor woman.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it like 16-year-old me would have.
Terrifier as a series is just like, what if we took a slasher movie and removed all like any art from it aside from just like what's the most fucked up thing a person can think of someone doing to someone else. Let's just make a movie of that. Like as the most torture porn slasher series I've ever seen.
I feel like gore in movies in general. My whole thing with it is just it has to at least be creative. Like like something like some of the Final Destination movies, like that? it's like Home Alone but murder, and like I want to see what wacky ways people are gonna die, like that's the fun of it. Whereas like gore just for the sake of something being gross, or something like The Fly. We were talking about The Fly. Jeff Goldblum's The Fly.
I think that's part of why the kills in this, like, they're cool, but they feel kind of out of place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If someone...
they're so cartoonish, especially this one.
If someone handed me this movie and said, hey, like, how would you improve this before releasing it? This is one of the scenes I probably would have taken out.
Yeah.
Or I would have refilmed it from like 100 feet away or something.
The pretzel. Yeah, that could have been something where it's like they leave you right up close with it. Yeah,
I like your idea where we just make them like sadder. Like, we just like these poor people. Like, what is this guy doing to? Like, yeah, but this is like sort of like, this is what you guys want to see, right?
Yeah,
crazy kills.
As soon as it's done, I was waiting for this title pop on the screen: fatality.
Yeah.
We should probably explain for the folks at home what the pretzel is.
Yeah, talk us through what happens in the scene, LC.
So basically, Johnny pulls up on her, and she tries to run away down the... She doesn't try to run away. It's the Prometheus all over again. She could have run left or right.
Yep.
But she
was paralyzed with fear.
She runs towards the cliff, but it's a steep cliff. And Johnny, like... So, like, Johnny, like, comes up, puts his hand through her back, through her stomach... Yeah, and then like pulls her head down.
No, so what he does, he's got his
the hooks.
He's got his hooks on chains, right? So he shoves it through her stomach as she's facing him, and then
no, she was turned around. I remember specifically.
Yeah.
He spins her.
No, he spins her around, and then takes the hook that's running through her stomach, shoves it into the top of her head. And then pulls the chain really hard so her head comes through her stomach.
The shot through this sequence that always gets me is you see like they focused on like you see like her spine.
Yeah, the neck. That is probably one of the best effects in the movie because it made me like recoil.
Yeah, it made me go. Ugh.
Yeah,
like all of the like here's the thing. At the end of the day, most of I'd say all of the actual kills themselves, like the effects of it, like the practical effects, all look great. But that moment in particular just made me go ugh. But and
then he kicks her down the cliff, and she falls halfway through, which is a detail that I like. She didn't fall all the way down.
Yeah, someone's gonna find her later. But
it would have been too. It would have just been like, it would have been too much of a spectacle for it to just fall all the way down and like somersault like into the woods. But that would have fit the tone of the kill we just saw. So I don't know. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think it this is an example of the movie not really committing to what it wants to do.
I like the one thing I walked away from is I thought that was needless, but then I remembered she was doing yoga, and that's like a yoga pose.
Oh, so I see.
Oh, so it was trying to be
what do you twisted her into? Oh, that's funny.
It was a dumb movie, like a dumb Hollywood writer would write that, like, the yoga girl gets twisted around.
I guess
so
that still makes sense with the whole
100%.
the whole Hollywood script meets film different.
Yeah, that almost like makes
that's just the two things clashing pretty hard.
Yeah, that does make a little bit more sense. I don't know. Like I said, I thought all the kills were creative. I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
So the next scene is the unmasked Johnny scene where the teens are arguing about like wanting to leave.
One of the stupid teens throws the keys into the woods.
Throws the keys.
Well, now we enter into one of the eras of the film, which is just the walking era, where we get 10 to 15 minutes of walking.
Oh yeah, just walking through nature.
There's a lot of following this character like a video game behind his back as he walks through the woods.
Walking through beautiful Ontario,
Canada. This movie does look very pretty. That makes the woods look very nice and also very scary at points.
Yeah. There's the shot they use in the trailer, and I understand why they used it for the trailer, and it's him walking towards the trees at sunset. And it is, I mean, you could have a calendar of just that one.
It's just they use some kind of filter or lens or something where like the highlights just bloom up really bright.
This movie does kind of feel like a lot of those scenes do feel like just like a nature calendar, but there's a Jason Voorhees is in the middle of it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, the teenagers are arguing. We see Johnny take off his mask, and he looks like a zombie. And then,
yeah, we talked about Johnny's face. I think it's a good design. I still, at the time, I really wish that they hadn't shown us his face at all.
Yeah, I think it looks fairly unremarkable.
I was happy with it because, again, my frustration with this movie is I feel like it didn't give me enough. I needed a few more like thrills and fun stuff, and so him showing us his face was actually the beginning of a section where I really liked the movie.
Yeah,
I really was having a good time for about those middle sections, and seeing his face was part of that too.
Yeah,
it kind of felt like a little treat they were giving us.
Exactly. Also, you just get to have a little bit of emotion. You see him like the car. You see him as like a little kid in his face,
and then he switches gears back into killer mode and crushes the car.
Like it gives you a little bit of sympathy towards Johnny, which honestly, I was on Johnny's side the whole time. Really, I didn't like any of these kids. I was like, yeah, Johnny, fuck them kids.
See that. You're a psychopath.
Yeah, a little bit.
No, it's all good. I understand. I think that the fact that we follow his character so closely through the whole thing, that really lends to a whole, like, this is the protagonist, these kids are the antagonists kind of feeling.
Yeah. I guess it's a thing where it's like with any kind of movie protagonist, people argue about whether or not, like, oh, you can't follow somebody who's evil or somebody who's, like, you know, whatever. My mentality of, like, it doesn't matter if you agree with why your protagonist does what they do. All that matters is that you understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I understand why Johnny is how he is. You know, like
I'd kill teenagers too if I was back from the dead.
I mean, like you were saying, hell.
I got my locket and everything.
Hell sucks. You'd come out of hell if you wake up from. Also, understanding that this is like the sixth or seventh movie in this quote-unquote franchise. It's like at this point he's been brought back to life and killed and reburied like 6 or 7 times, so he's like pissed, he's tired, he's like this is bullshit.
I don't know, man. I feel like killing these kids is gratuitous, but you know, I guess he's a demon.
Yeah.
I feel like he could just walk up and be like, hey, can I have my locket back, and they'd give it to him.
That's just my mess. Well, he can't really talk.
He's silent. I don't know. That's a bit of a dichotomy, talk or kill.
They take out his vocal cords in hell. But yeah, anyway,
yeah.
Sorry, the next scene, Johnny kills 2 more. It's pretty quick kills. I think he just throws the hook at him,
and kills people.
And not as creative and not as gratuitous
Yeah.
either. There's a head pop, which is pretty good, but it's not a spectacle.
Yeah, there are 2 more gratuitous kills in this movie.
Yeah. There's a the next scene we get is that we so I feel like around here is when we really get introduced to like we see who the final girl is going to be. It's this one girl, and there's a ranger who
the guy from the last movie.
And this is the point where and he ends up knocking out Johnny. I think he just shoots him in the head and Johnny's healing on the ground. And the ranger kind of explains the backstory of how I've fought Johnny before. This isn't the first time. Yeah. And we really get full evidence of oh, this is not the first movie in this slasher universe.
That was my favorite scene in the whole movie. And so forgive me for a brief tangent, but did you guys watch the Jenny Nicholson YouTube videos about Evermore or the Star Wars Galactic Cruiser?
I didn't. But
so
Joseph did.
Those are theme parks where actors are being paid to LARP. And that there's these recordings where a camera is 40 feet away and in really poor sound is recording these actors doing deep lore with bad sound.
Oh, yeah.
And those scenes look exactly like the scene.
Yeah. They're so weird and uncomfortable.
But I'm not being mean-spirited either. The thesis of this movie, of what if it took place from his perspective, the killer is on the ground, unconscious, and we're getting this big lore dump from a character from a movie we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was really funny. I was giggling to myself that whole scene. I thought it was genius.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the high of the movie.
Yeah, he's giving a really dramatic monologue, but it's in a wide shot, so it's almost like a comedy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know, in that moment I was just thinking about Johnny's perspective where he's oh, not this fuck again.
I guess he was thinking the same thing too, because he wakes up and kills this guy in probably the most indulgent way.
Yeah. Well, first he paralyzes him by crushing the top of his spine.
He bends him backward and paralyzes him. And then over the course of the next, 10 minutes, it felt like.
It is a very long scene, this particular kill.
Drags him to a hydraulic log splitter. And very, very slowly, as he's still, it's implied that he's still awake and aware and can feel everything happening to him. But he very, very slowly chops off his arm and then his head with a very slow and apparently not very powerful log splitter.
No, it takes it
really struggles with that guy's neck.
Yeah, I definitely feel that scene went on a little bit too long.
I feel like they had such a strong vision in their head for that being the coolest scene in the movie, and it just did not work for me.
You're leaving out the detail about the atmospheric sound, because this log splitter
is so loud.
It's diesel powered, and
there's
so
just a gas motor going in the background the whole time of the scene.
It felt like it was very much. I don't like it when movies feel like they're punishing the audience.
Yeah.
So there was this big whiplash for me because, like I said, when they introduced the park ranger who's from a previous movie, that's my favorite scene. I thought it was really fun and really clever, and then immediately that park ranger getting killed is such a fuck you to the audience.
Yeah,
it's
it
so
feels
loud.
That way, for sure.
It goes so slow,
it's
and then
so long. Yeah.
If we're being honest, if I want to see some gore, I thought his head was going to get crushed.
Yeah,
not chopped off.
I thought he was going to get cut in half.
Yeah. No, I thought it was gonna be nuts. Well, I thought it was gonna James Bond, and he was gonna put him on and it was gonna start at his dick, and then cut up through the way.
Yeah.
Didn't get that. Yeah, it was just a long, overindulgent scene. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they should have just not had him cut. It should have just been him cutting off the head if that's all they were gonna do.
Yeah.
We didn't need him getting the arm in there first.
Yeah, it felt like they had a really strong vision for it in concept, and it just didn't work in execution, actually on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next scene, let's see what happens. Yeah. So park ranger station gets killed.
Oh, and then there's another 15 to 30 minutes of him wandering.
There's a lot of walking, and then there's a confrontation where one of the teenagers sneaks up behind him to try to get his attention, and he just hacks this guy's face for probably 6 or 7 minutes. while his friend is just kind of standing there
Chris,
watching
the final girl,
and you see like this real ass trauma as she's just watching with this blank expression on her face.
That was probably like the one scene of gratuitous violence that I felt was necessary because you see just like how that would fuck you up forever.
Yeah, it's kind of like it feels like it's leaning into a theme in like the last 20 minutes of the movie, that the theme that wasn't really there for the rest of it. Where it's like this is just this is like real trauma. This is like it's related to a bear attack.
Well, you could argue that his own origin story kind of fits into trauma, and one of the themes it wants to play with is like the pain that exists after violence and like carrying violence
yeah, that's
with
a good
you.
point.
But I don't think it explores that to its fullest.
Yeah,
but that's what it wants to explore.
Yeah, it feels like that it drops that pretty quick, and then it just tries to pick it up really strong here at the end because the final girl attempts to give him back his locket.
Like attached to. At first, I was like, is she trying to blow him up because she leaves it on like a gas canister?
Yeah, I feel like they were just, I don't know, they were getting gas for the car or something like
Well,
that.
what you're leaving out actually is one of the other scenes I really enjoyed. And that is when they put his locket onto a gas tank. Before the boyfriend gets stabbed a billion times, they're in the woods. Johnny's watching them, and they don't think Johnny's watching them.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And they're plotting. They're like, I'm going to run here, and I'm going
Yeah.
to distract him, and then you're going to come around. It's very like video game cutscene dialogue. And it's funny because you're on Johnny's side. You know Johnny's waiting in the woods,
Yep.
and that their plan's not going to work.
Yeah, and then Johnny hacks that guy's face in the hamburger meat.
For 20 minutes.
Yes, for a
Yeah,
very,
for a very
long
long time.
That
And
is that is the sound for that scene. Is the axe hitting that guy's head?
Yeah, and you just you see her trauma. But yeah, no. So then we switch for the first time, or really for the first main time in the movie. We completely switch perspective to this final girl.
Yeah,
We're like following her running through the woods. We're
and
like,
that's honestly when the movie like got actually scary for me.
yeah,
We're like actually now scared because we don't know where he is, and we don't know if he's gonna come back.
yeah. And they never give you that release because she's run through the woods for a while, and then she gets picked up by this woman on the road. Which during the whole scene with her in the car, I had two theories. I had two theories the whole time.
I want to predict. I'm going to interrupt because I want to predict. You predicted that their car was going to get hit by another car, or that Johnny was going to be in the road and make them swerve off.
No, I thought.
Okay.
I thought they were gonna go full Friday the 13th and say that this woman is Johnny's mother.
Okay.
Or like
that's more fun.
Or like related to Johnny somehow because like Mrs. Voorhees is like a big part of.
I was having a hard because honestly, I think the movie was like trying to get you to predict what was going to happen next that whole time, and that was like the main conceit of the whole of having her get picked up because it's like, well, this is where the movie ends usually.
Well, the movie usually ends with a final scare from the creature, and like that's what I was waiting on. I was like, okay, there's a final scare coming.
Yeah.
Because like it seems like Johnny got what he wanted, but he's gonna pop out of somewhere.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're trying to make you wait for that and trying to like make you anticipate something like that happening, and then it just fucking doesn't.
Yeah.
You get this monologue that I need to rewatch with subtitles because I don't remember a single fucking... Because it's like 16 minutes of this woman talking about this bear attack.
Yeah.
Well, there's another detail in that too, which I'll get to in one second. But that is my biggest gripe with the movie. That is absolutely where it loses a letter grade for me. Is the final girl is picked up by a car, and there is a creepy lady driving it, telling a long story, and everyone in the audience has different theories on what's going to happen. Because the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the final girl just gets hit by a truck just outside of Leatherface or whatever. And so horror movie language has instructed you that you're going to get one final treat. There's one final piece of candy left in the pillowcase.
Yeah.
And the movie's whole thing, which is trying to be smart, is that there is no final thing. There is no final scare.
Yep.
And
she's just gonna sit in her trauma. There's no, you're not gonna get surprised.
Yeah, and so just the language of horror movies depends. Yeah, it's definitely a choice. That's the way I'd put it. I wanted one final scare. I wouldn't have walked away thinking it was a worse movie if I had been given one final scare, but we're not.
Yeah.
But it ends on he got his locket back.
He got his locket back, and he's good, and he'll be back for the sequel. Which
absolutely.
I hope they don't do a sequel to this one, just because like it's so in its own. it works. So for me at least, like the conceit of like it being a sequel in this horror franchise elsewhere makes it so that like it's so self-contained is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Like it feels very self-contained.
During that creepy lady's monologue about a violent bear, did you guys not expect her to keep saying the title of the movie? And she kept not saying the title of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. Just
Why
like
is
these
it-
things, there's violence in these things, and then in nature,
she was
there's
set up
silence.
perfectly, and she never did.
I thought that was like an intentional, like one-to-one kind of thing. That
What if right at the end she said it and then looked in the camera and winked?
Yeah, you're expecting her to say, "This bear, I guess he was just in a violent nature," and then
Cut
you
to
get
black.
one final scare.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
what we're leaving out is that the car actually parks. And
Oh,
she's
yeah.
begging her not to park the car, but she does.
That is the
And
most
then-
tense scene in the movie. For
Yeah,
me.
because you're just waiting for Johnny to pop out.
Yeah.
And get him.
And she looks in the woods, and there's nothing in the woods. And then we go back to the gas tank, and
Johnny
the
got his
locket's
locket.
gone, and
Yeah.
the movie's over.
Yep.
And she's just gonna be that looking over her shoulder for the rest of her life.
Yep.
And it's cool.
She's just actually traumatized.
It's cool because you look at like all the other final girls in movies, like Sidney Prescott and Laurie Strode from Halloween and stuff, and it's like, yeah, it makes sense that they become like super paranoid,
Yeah.
like frantic people
Insane,
because
yeah.
these experiences would. But no, that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely a good experiment. Like I said,
It's worth a watch.
it tickled all my horror movie nerd buttons, but I definitely understand
Yeah.
people who aren't going to like it. At the very least, I thought it was an interesting experiment.
Yeah. No,
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I'm glad that they made it. I really am. I'm glad that I watched it. It's good to have a movie that you can say this much about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I saw it a week ago, and I still think about it.
Yeah.
And
That's the best
I
kind
think
of movie
about
for me.
stuff I would have done differently, but also stuff that I completely agreed with and saw eye to eye with.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the prop question, I have a little prompt for you guys. Question: what movie? It doesn't necessarily have to be horror. It can be horror, but what movie type would you like to see done like this? Like an antagonist perspective movie. Like what do you think would be a cool movie to do that with?
I have a lame answer.
What is it?
I would love to see way into the Alien movies, like Giger's Alien. I would love to watch something that feels like a nature documentary about them, and that would just be like
That's a great idea.
just get like a dry British narrator to narrate
The xenomorphs
aliens
in the
taking
wild.
over.
Yeah, nothing
There
I
you
say
go.
is going to top that, so I'm just going to go with his answer.
Damn, that's good.
Yeah.
I have a lame answer. Damn.
I'm just always thinking about xenomorphs. It's a problem.
Always.
I kind of got two answers. I have an answer, and then I have like a slightly less lame answer. So what's it called? Oh, actually no, I do have an interesting answer. So my first answer, the one I want to see is I want to see Scream done this way. I want to see the Whodunit Scream movie done where
where you know
who the Scream killer is the whole time.
Yeah.
But the second one I was just thinking of is like, how can I one up Harvey? I want to see I remember there's a short story that's like this. I want to see the Matrix from the machine's perspective,
Oh, okay.
trying to suppress humanity.
I think
And,
that's
like,
just like
Seeing like the
a
humans
city
as-
management game.
it's just
I thought you were going to say The Thing, because I think someone did write
there's a short story.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say. I reminded
what he's
myself,
referencing,
The
yeah.
Things by John Watts. Very good short story, and it is exactly that. It's the story of the thing from the
Yeah.
alien's perspective.
I got my prop locked and loaded.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Joseph, do you have a?
Harvey, do you know this premise of the prop thing that we do?
Give me the full rule set.
I mean,
make
we-
sure I don't make a fool of myself.
We just pick what prop we would want to have. What prop would we want to have on our knick-knack shelf from
Yeah,
this movie?
in
That's
this
really
movie. You just get to have it.
yeah. Like, what would you want? But Joseph, wait, before we get to prop, what movie would you want to see?
Oh
from
no,
the
I
film?
just stole Harvey's answer.
Okay, cool.
Harvey's answer is now my answer.
Okay, rock and roll. Yeah, alien nature documentary. That'd
Yeah.
be great. So Harvey, do you have an idea for your prop, or do you want to wait a minute?
So what comes to mind is there's a story. I'm way into The Sopranos to an obnoxious
Hell
degree,
yeah.
and I know that the actor who played Phil Leotardo if, spoiler alert, but his character gets crushed by a car in the final episode.
Yeah.
And they had to film it several times,
man,
and they let him keep the latex heads left over that they didn't crush.
That's cool.
And he gave them to his kids, and his kids would put them in the window for Halloween.
Of his heads.
And so I wonder if I could have the pretzel bent girl, because that probably just is a latex doll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's probably is just something in someone's garage now.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I probably could go to prison if the wrong person saw that I have that in my house.
Good Halloween
But that'd be
decoration. Yeah.
It's a great conversation piece for the foyer.
You could like hang it somewhere.
Man.
Yeah. Joseph, what's your locked in?
I was terrified because I thought he was about to take mine, but I just want the top half of that guy's head that got cut off from the mouth.
Fuck, that's what I was gonna say.
Because that just put that on a shelf and it's just like staring at you while you're playing video games. It's probably pretty cool.
Yeah. Damn, that was what I was gonna take the guy's goofy dumb
His
head
big
too.
wide eyes, yeah.
His dumb head. I think I'm between. I guess I'll just do the lame answer. I'll take Johnny's mask. I think that'd be cool.
Okay,
just to like have just like
that was my backup.
have on a mannequin head. I also
It is a cool mask.
another one I thought of was the tape player, the dude's cassette player.
Yeah.
Which here's the thing. Anytime I pick something like that where it's like, oh, I want Sam Rockwell's glasses from Moon, I got to remember that like it is just like a pair of aviators. There's nothing special about it.
He's the one who makes that special.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
I can get you some fake blood and a Walkman. It wouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm gonna go with Johnny's mask. I'll take the lame answer. So yeah. This was In About Nature.
Yeah.
1 second. It's 3:39 time.
Movie gang.
Night movie gang. We've had Harvey Thomas Boyd. Please check out his book.
Yeah.
Remind us the name of your new book.
There's Ludogy, a horror story, and there's Paulo Duro, a sci-fi story. Both
They'll
on
be
Amazon.
linked.
Where-
They'll be linked in the description.
Where can? Okay, I was about to say where can people find them on Amazon? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Wait, is the Paulo Duro one? That's the alien one, right?
The Paulo Duro is the alien one, and I think that Ludogy is more of a fun summer read, and Paulo Duro is more of a cry into your cereal kind of book.
Hell yeah,
Perfect.
I'm gonna check
Full
that one
range.
out for sure. Yes, yeah. Please follow Harvey on Instagram.
Yes, great guest.
Or is there a particular platform you want people to follow you on? Or
I'm just on Instagram, and my books are just on Amazon because technology is really scary. So
Sure is.
eventually I'll have books elsewhere, and eventually I'll be on other social medias, but I really don't want to.
Yeah.
got you. It makes
Because
sense.
one's been enough.
Yeah, I hate social media. That's my least favorite part about this whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of social media, you can follow at Midnight Movie Gang on Instagram.
Yeah.
Follow us on TikTok. We've been doing a lot of stuff on YouTube lately, trying to make that kind of like our main platform. We have video reviews coming out every Friday,
Yeah.
new full episodes every Wednesday.
Facts.
There'll be more stuff. So yeah. Harvey, thank you again for coming on.
Thanks, Harvey.
Hey, this has been great. You guys are really doing a cool show. I know it sounds lame or corny, but you guys are awesome.
Thanks. You're a
Thank
great
you
guest.
thank you so much. Yeah, would definitely
Thanks
love
for
to have
coming
you.
on.
Definitely love to have you on again. You know what I would love? Ken, say this right now. Can we have you on again for Alien Romulus?
I am very interested in Alien, and I hate a lot of decisions that creative people have made with Alien. So
Seems like
I would
a-
love to talk about Romulus with you.
Nice.
Yeah, when it comes out,
That'd
I'm
be
really
perfect.
It's my favorite film franchise as well. So yeah, you're probably a bigger fan than me, but yeah, so
We're pumped for it.
definitely yeah. But yeah, once again, this has been Midnight Movie Gang. Thank you guys so much for listening, and
Thank you.
have a nice night. What'd you say?
I just said thank you.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
all I said.
Good night.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
So, here we go. The police are searching for James Thomas, believed to be the lover of Mrs. Williams, and her partner in the horrible murder of Walter. Where's everybody that I hear them all go? Oh, please tell me where they've gone. Please tell me. Sorry, I don't know. How long is it? Mile and a half? Look what I got in here. 3 tickets to Albany on 6 o'clock train tonight. What do you think? Special agent.